What if I told you that a man's obsession doesn't start in his head? It starts in his desire. And if you know how to tap into that desire, you can make him crave you, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, completely. This is how you channel a man's sexual energy and turn it into pure obsession. What if I told you that a man's obsession doesn't start in his head? It starts in his desire. Most people misunderstand male desire. They think it's purely physical, just instinct, something primal that needs release and nothing more. But that's a mistake. Male sexual desire isn't just about the act. It's about validation, identity, emotional safety, even longing. What he wants isn't just sex, it's what sex represents to him. And if you understand how to read those representations, you can channel his sexual energy in a way that binds him to you, not just physically, but emotionally. For many men, the bedroom is one of the few places they feel allowed to be vulnerable. No performance, no pressure to be strong, no need to protect or posture. In intimacy, they finally exhale. They touch you not just to feel you, but because it's one of the few ways they know how to express need. That's powerful, but also dangerous, because if you don't understand what's really happening, it just becomes sex. And if it's just sex, it can happen with anyone. But when you see his physical desire as a doorway, an entry point into his emotional wiring, you change the entire game. You start responding not just to his body, but to his deeper craving for connection, for identity, for meaning. When you meet his desire with not just your body, but with attention, presence, and reflection, you create a loop, a psychological imprint, one that teaches him. Being close to you isn't just arousing, it's healing. After intimacy, most people retreat, fall into silence. But you lean in, not physically, emotionally. You ask something simple but disarming. What did that mean for you? Or you notice gently, you seemed softer just now. These aren't tricks, they're invitations. You're inviting him into a space where sex isn't about performance. It's about being seen. Most men never get that. So when you offer it, even subtly, it's unforgettable. Here's the paradox. The more you slow it down, the more obsessed he becomes. Because obsession isn't about frequency, it's about meaning. He keeps returning, not for more sex, but for the feeling of being emotionally awakened, for the depth, the mirror, the medicine that is you. But here's what most women miss. You have to be grounded enough to hold that space. You cannot become his therapist. You cannot mother him. But you can be a mirror, one that reflects his inner world back to him at moments when he least expects it. The bed isn't where connection ends. It's where it begins. When you let him into your physical space, do it with the understanding that you're not just offering your body, you're offering an emotional imprint, a philosophical reflection of his deeper self. He's not just seeking you, he's seeking himself through you. When you give that, not all at once, but in doses, he begins to crave you in ways he can't fully explain. That's how obsession is born, not through manipulation, but through meaning. His deepest desire isn't just for your body, it's for the feeling of being known. And when you give him that, intimately, emotionally, viscerally, you don't just arouse him, you anchor him. Most women are taught that giving more affection, more attention, more availability will deepen a man's interest. But in the realm of sexual energy, more is not always more. Sexual influence comes not from availability, but from restraint. Obsession is born from anticipation, not gratification. Sexual tension lives in the psychological space between what is and what almost was. That space between desire and fulfillment. That's where obsession is cultivated. That's where his mind loops. That's where fantasy is built. That's where you become unforgettable. Here's what most people ignore. When you give everything away too soon, you collapse that space. You flatten the mystery. You erase the emotional charge that keeps him coming back. Not for your body, but for the emotional experience of you. Desire isn't fueled by closeness. It's fueled by the interruption of closeness. When you know how to create that pause, not by playing games, but through calm self-possession, you activate something ancient in his psyche, the part that equates effort with value. This isn't manipulation. It's neuroscience. The brain assigns more value to what's earned than to what's given freely. He has to work emotionally for that closeness. And in doing so, he convinces himself you're worth it. And you don't need to be obvious about it. It's subtle. You hold eye contact, and then you break it first. You lean into the conversation and let silence linger. You allow him to touch you, and then gently move his hand away, not as rejection, but as an invitation to slow down. You're saying, without words, you may want me, but you don't control access to me. That silent statement, it sharpens his attention, it draws his focus, it pulls him into the space of pursuit. But to do this, you must be comfortable not being the one who gives. You must resist the urge to over-explain, over-offer, over-perform. You must trust that your presence is enough, that your energy has gravity, that you don't need to prove your value through immediate access. This is the heart of feminine power, not seduction through exposure, but through containment. You are the frame, and the frame gives meaning to what it holds. Erotic energy isn't just biological, it's narrative. When a man is sexually activated by you, he doesn't just feel it in his body. He begins to craft a story. Who is she? Why does she affect me like this? What would it feel like to be chosen by her? These aren't sexual questions, they're existential ones. You're not just igniting his body, you're disrupting his sense of self. So what happens when you create that tension and don't resolve it right away? You leave a gap, and in that gap, his imagination goes to work. He doesn't just want you, he wants the feeling of being near you, the aliveness, the emotional curiosity, the sacred unknown. Obsession isn't born from constant presence. It's born in artful absence, in rhythm, in polarity. There's a fundamental polarity most people overlook, the dynamic between masculine and feminine energy. Masculine energy is directional. It seeks goals, clarity, release. Feminine energy is fluid, magnetic. It doesn't chase, it draws in. When you stay anchored in your feminine, receptive, grounded, emotionally attuned, you give his masculine energy a place to land. You become the gravitational force he orients around. Not because you demand his attention, but because you don't need to. If you're overextending, always initiating, anticipating, controlling, you've left your center. You're in his energetic lane. And when two people operate from the same polarity, there's friction, not chemistry. But when you return to your feminine, by slowing down, listening to your own body, expressing without managing, you create space. And in that space, his desire has room to build, breathe, and focus itself on you. This isn't passivity. Feminine energy is not weak. It's invitational. It's the quiet power of allowing rather than pulling, the soft command of self-possession. And when you stop trying to control connection, when you let him move toward you, he experiences his own desire more fully. His sexual energy doesn't just seek pleasure, it seeks you. Not just in the bedroom, in his thoughts, in his emotions, in his identity, because now you're not just a woman he wants, you're a woman who awakens him. And that reflection of himself through you is profoundly addictive. But here's the truth. To hold that power, you must remain emotionally rooted. You must resist the urge to perform, to please, to be agreeable, available, filtered. Feminine energy thrives in authenticity, in real-time expression, in unfiltered feeling, because the power is in your truth, not your polish. When you're emotionally congruent, when your presence matches your energy, you generate polarity. That tension keeps him leaning in, seeking, wanting. Men don't obsess over women who shrink themselves into a fantasy. They obsess over women who are emotionally unmistakable, who reflect something ancient, human, and unforgettable. When you hold your feminine ground, he orbits you. So the question isn't, how do I keep his attention? It's, how do I stay in my energy so fully that he can't look away? Remember this. Desire fades when it's fulfilled too easily. But obsession grows in the spaces where meaning, mystery, and magnetism live. When you stop giving everything up front and instead invite him to discover you piece by piece, you don't just become his lover, you become his fixation. This is the kind of energy that no other woman can replicate because it's not in what you do. It's in who you are when you're grounded, feminine, emotionally alive, and unapologetically real. If this video spoke to something deep inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, subscribe, and remember, this isn't just about love. This is about reclaiming your power as a woman who no longer begs to be chosen, but one who knows he'll never forget her. Obsession isn't forced, it's felt. When you learn to guide his desire without giving everything away, you become the addiction. And once that happens, there's no other woman he can see. That is the power of feminine energy. I'm Esther Perel, and this is Love Mystery. Remember this. Desire fades when it's fulfilled too easily, but obsession grows in the spaces where meaning, mystery, and magnetism live. When you stop giving everything up front and instead invite him to discover you, piece by piece, you don't just become his lover, you become his fixation. This is the kind of energy that no other woman can replicate, because it's not in what you do. It's in who you are when you're grounded, feminine, emotionally alive, and unapologetically real. If this video spoke to something deep inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, subscribe, and remember, this isn't just about love. This is about reclaiming your power as a woman who no longer begs to be chosen, but one who knows he'll never forget her. Obsession isn't forced, it's felt. When you learn to guide his desire without giving everything away, you become the addiction. And once that happens, there's no other woman he can see. That is the power of feminine energy. And this, I'm Esther Perel, and this is Love Mystery.